When someone can endorse your services like what Mach 1 does, saying, we believe in this mission, this is why, and we think you should too, that opens so many doors that we couldn't have done. Cold calls hardly ever work. But when someone can vouch for your reputation as a nonprofit, like that makes a huge difference in that reach that we need to have within our community. The reality is 1 in 4 children, 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys will be sexually abused by the age of 18. And so when the reality of child abuse is what it is, we want to ensure that there is a place that is trained on how to respond and trained to provide the services that these children need to heal. But we also have the residential program, because if we've got a mom and her children trying to escape an unsafe situation, there is a place that is equipped with knowledge and services to help them truly heal. Our mission statement here is restoring lives impacted by trauma. And it's one thing to experience these terrible circumstances, but it's another to have proper services for the healing. And so research shows that when all of them are done in one location, we can greatly increase that impact of healing, but lessen the impact of the trauma. I definitely experienced Mach 1's entire team from and others before themselves with the aftermath of the tornado. That day, when we were just discovering all the damage that our agency had experienced, and therefore concerns that we wouldn't be able to serve children and families due to our roads being impassable, our entrances were impassable, some of the very first faces that showed up on site were team members from Mach 1, and they were familiar faces. And so that was not only comforting for me, who had no idea what to expect. We put out an ask. We only had a couple people sign up on that, and so myself and other team members showed up early that morning, and I believe Lee's face was actually one of the very first ones that I saw, and then several more of his team members started driving in, and from just not even knowing if anybody would show up to over 115 people showing up on site, and we did more than we could have ever imagined in being able to clean up from that crisis and trauma. I mean, talk about live action of what it is that our agency does of serving trauma. Our community experienced one in Mach 1, set aside whatever needs that they may have even had personally to take care of the needs that our agency did.
I'll tell you, and it's an emotional business to be in. It changes lives in that a girl may come in hopeless, afraid, nervous, scared, happy. Parents are happy. We see from beginning to end. We want her to know that she is able to do this. We want her to say, I can be a parent. I can overcome. And we want to provide anything where she has her needs met to do that. Loving Choices is a pregnancy resource center where girls can come when they find out they are unexpectedly pregnant or have some extenuating circumstances that they might need help with. It is based on need, so that we make sure we have openings and for girls that are in the most need. My goal is to provide all of the baby's needs for the first year of the baby's lives, from diapers and wipes to clothing to equipment, whatever they need. I know that Mach 1's core value is others before self, and it's being shown even just today with the volunteers that have come on their time off to help set up this new boutique. The willingness to supply all of our needs, seen and unseen. They aren't needing the attention, but we can't do this without wonderful, generous people like Mach 1.
Every child in our community deserves to feel safe and to know that they are loved unconditionally. That's what we do here at the shelter. The Northwest Arkansas Children's Shelter has provided safety to children at our emergency shelter for the past 30 years. In the past 5 years, we've expanded into this community to serve even more children and families. We opened Hope Academy, which is the only trauma-centered public charter school in the state of Arkansas. We also have our Foster for the Future program, which trains and supports foster families and providers in this community who work with children who've experienced trauma. Mach 1 really embodies the others before self, especially when it comes to the children's shelter. As human beings, we don't plant trees for ourselves, we plant trees for future generations. We invest in our children, not for ourselves, but for the future. We give them shelter and we give them food because we're thinking about others before self. And we experience that with David Lee and his wife, with the entire team, with Mach 1 clients. It's truly become a ripple effect of change and compassion in this community. Mach 1 goes above and beyond in serving the children in our care. My favorite is when the entire team goes and shops for our children at Christmas. They ensure that our children wake up Christmas morning and are able to experience the joy of the holiday. They're able to have presents under the tree and know what it means to be loved and belonged on such a special day.
Nobody can do this alone. Everyone needs a village to come alongside them, and it's an honor to be that village. And so I myself was a foster parent for a span of 7 years, and there's no way I could have done it. My husband and I could have done it without the support of the call. And so to know that others have walked the journey, are currently walking the journey with you, to have the resources, to have the knowledge and the continued support along the way, I think it makes you feel like you're not doing it alone, and it validates the call that you have on your life. And so we just don't want anyone to ever feel like they're alone in this journey. As a whole, as a company, we have just been greatly blessed by the generosity financially, but also just hands-on. You guys have had teams come and help us just even flip the closet. I mean, it seems like a little thing, but man, it's a huge task. And when kids come into care and they need clothes that are readily available in that season, it's just a huge blessing to have the help for people to come in and say, hey, we can do it all in one day. Whereas for me, it would take me weeks and weeks. So the hands-on, service has been huge. But the support overall from Mach 1 and just individual employees there it's just a huge blessing, and we're so thankful. Foster care is present everywhere, and so in our communities, in our neighborhoods, in our schools, there's a great need, and so it's not something that's distant, but it's something here. And so for us to locally have the support, partnerships like Mach 1, it makes a local impact. And so for us, it's huge to have that, because we can only continue to do what we're doing by having partnerships like Mach 1.
I know David feels this way. We've had many talks. That missions is great. We were given that commission by the Lord, go and make disciples in all the nations. And we've, for the most part, I think in the United States that through the church, we've done that. But a little bit to our detriment is the fact that we have forgotten what he says in Judea and Samaria first, and then the uttermost parts of the world. And sometimes we forget that our own communities, neighborhoods, and schools and youth are very important. And we know today, by the numbers statistically, tell us that about 70%, 67 to 68% of high school age students never attend church, never walk into a church. And so FCA is an important factor from that standpoint, is because we're going to where they are. We're going into the schools. We have access to schools because FCA is a club, an organization, just like many clubs or organizations are in the school. And because of that, and it's student-led, we have the opportunity to go into the schools and to bring speakers and to share faith. We use student athletes at the University of Arkansas. We even have resources for professional athletes. We have a list of ex-professional athletes that now live in the United States. We can fly them in from anywhere because they're contracted with the FCA. We can bring them in, professional basketball players, soccer players, boxers, we've had them. Track athletes that have run in the Olympics. So we have an opportunity to bring those people to where the kids are and share the gospel. And so it's missions work. This is really what FCA is. We're going to the places in our communities. Unfortunately, those numbers are not changing, as far as kids going to school, to church. But we got a mandate to go to where they are, and sports is is a great vehicle that we've been given to get in to reach kids. Something people sometimes don't understand, it's not about just writing a check, although that's been so important to us to keep the ministry going and be able to meet the needs that we have, but it's the heart, you know, and David, I know, and the others here, and it starts with David, you know, they have a heart to help with kids in our community, in our schools, and coaches as well. And so a check without the heart is a little bit empty, you know, and so I know that we've had many meetings, and I spent a lot of time with David in particular, that he has a heart and a passion for people in our community, and the youth of the community is obviously very important to him.